All right, everybody. This is a little bit on shadow work by Carl Jung. Carl Jung's shadow work provides an in depth insight into the psyche and its components. It offers healing, coping mechanisms, and helps with self realization, which, in my opinion, is the highest goal of human life. How can I be substantial if I do not cast a shadow? I must have a dark side also if I am to be whole. C.G. Carl G. Jung, Modern Man in Search of a Soul. This shadow work guide explains the concept of shadow and how to integrate with the dark side of your personality, also referred to as individuation. It furthers our endeavor to realize our creative potential and catalyze personal growth. I've been on the spiritual path for quite a few years, and one of the most disturbing things I notice is that many spiritual teachers, or so-called gurus, are entirely out of sync in their speech and actions. While they strongly talk about love, light, equanimity, compassion, empathy, and enlightenment, their actions indicate the opposite. They teach how to subdue the ego, but themselves develop a spiritual ego that is much more terrifying. When you meet these people in real life, you realize that they are highly selfish and predatory. There's a part of their personality they have not figured out. They talk about reaching the higher self, knowing the truth, cultivating loving kindness, developing compassion and empathy, but none of their actions indicate they're practicing what they preach. There have been cases where some of these spiritual gurus have formed cult like organizations to carry out their sinister agendas in the name of spiritual development. That is for sure. This whole little paragraph is completely right. Many of these gurus' gullible followers readily undergo physical, sexual, and emotional abuse without realizing that they are being exploited and manipulated. Even regular people behave that way. We think something, say something else, and do precisely the opposite of what we say we'll do. There is a lack of coherence between our thoughts and actions. There's some aspect of us that eludes our conscious mind. The resulting behavior creates problems like severed relationships, trust issues, addictions, disobedience towards law, and other self-sabotaging behaviors. The problem is that we are entirely unaware of why we behave in an unruly manner. We react hysterically to our triggers, only to regret it later. It feels as if some demon overrides us at the moment, and we lose all rational thinking capacity. No matter how much spiritual and personal development work we do, we'll never be able to figure out who we are until we learn to acknowledge, accept, and integrate with that unknown and unpredictable side of our personality. What is the shadow? We come into this world with extremely malleable minds. We discover our sense of self by interacting with the world, which includes caregivers, teachers, friends, relatives, etc. And based on what we learn, we form core beliefs, opinions, and ideas. We build perceptions of ourselves by internalizing the beliefs given to us by people around us. And as we grow into adults, our ego solidifies. We start defining ourselves by the views and ideologies we imbibe. When challenged, we defend our beliefs aggressively. The whole idea is to fit in within the social structure and keep up the false image of ourselves we have created over the years. It is the result of years of conditioning, but is that who we are? Not all beliefs are part of consciousness awareness. Some hide in the psyche's deep recesses where we don't have direct access. But they have an overwhelming effect on our thoughts and behaviors. That is true. This creates a great divide between what we believe ourselves to be and who we are. It acts as a filter for every piece of information that enters our conscious minds. We all allow only the information that conforms with our pre-existing beliefs. We develop liking and kindness towards certain things and create aversions and hatred for others. However, things that we oppose form a part of our personality. To understand this concept in depth, let's look at the model of psyche proposed by the famous analytical psychologist Carl Gustav Jung. According to Jungian psychology, our psyche is divided into the following principal components: the conscious, or the ego. Our conscious awareness resides in this part of the psyche. It is where we experience thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations, and have memory access. Through these experiences, we learn to make sense of things and create a link between the inner and outer worlds. However, this part of our psyche's effect on us is insignificant compared to the other parts. The personal unconscious. The personal unconscious is the part of the psyche hidden from our conscious awareness but forms the core of who we are. The elements within the personal unconscious were once a part of our conscious mind. However, we pushed these elements away from our conscious awareness because we didn't find them significant or too uncomfortable and traumatic to handle. The personal unconscious is the dominant part of our psyche, and it is the reason for many of our unexplained behaviors and traits. The collective unconscious. Carl Jung believed that humans are born with blueprints pre-existing in their psyche, and it's the environment that brings out the corresponding elements. He emphasizes that there exist archetypes within us that greatly influence our behavior and, of course, in life. The shadow is one such archetype. I talk of archetypes too. It's incredible that I found this information. What I'm presenting here is a highly simplified view of the Jungian model of the psyche. There are other components like the self, anima, and animus complexes, and more. We'll not touch upon these for now and keep our discussion limited to the shadow. The shadow and its effects on our behaviors. According to Carl Jung, the shadow archetype is heavily influenced by the collective unconscious. It consists of things we have repressed due to their afflicting nature or simply deem unimportant. It contains traits that we dislike and don't want to deal with. They are hate, anger, jealousy, greed, secrets, envy, abuse, trauma, taboos, perversions, or anything that we perceive as shameful, evil, or unholy. Through repression, we push these afflicting traits into the unconscious that collectively forms the shadow. The shadow is the dark side of ourselves that we have forgotten and disowned. Suppressing the shadow can result in severe consequences like addictions, low self-worth, antisocial behavior, sexual perversions, chronic illnesses, neurosis, and various psychological ailments. The shadow impacts our lives in a myriad of unsuspecting ways. We see that even the most accomplished and successful people suffer from the low self-esteem, anxiety, and depression. Despite having all the money, fame, and power, these people cannot achieve inner peace. It is evident that even the most successful businessmen, politicians, and celebrities suffer from various psychological ailments despite having all the money and resources at their fingertips. One of the effects of the shadow that I witness in some people is their unending desire to acquire money and power. There is an unquenchable thirst for achieving more than what they presently have. They are continually chasing new opportunities that can make them more money or give them more power. Despite having every item of convenience at their disposal, they feel dissatisfied. Another effect I see is people making poor financial decisions. They invest in shady deals, hoard unnecessary items, shop compulsively, buy more liabilities than assets, dine out at unreasonably expensive places, and much more. Overall, these people live much above their means. There is an inner void or emptiness that these people try to cover up by acquiring material wealth in both cases. This void contains deep fears and insecurities that are not consciously aware of. There was a time when I desperately wanted to be successful as an entrepreneur. The need to prove myself was so great that I was ready to take any measure to achieve my goals. Never did I question, why am I so desperate to prove myself? Doing shadow work, I could see how this pattern of thinking emerged within me. When we are continuously shamed for failing on our goals and endeavors, it creates unworthiness. As children, we lack skills in dealing with troubling feelings and emotions, and the natural consequences is that we blame ourselves, suppress, and repress to relieve pain. It causes the child to internalize pain and trauma and create a false self that acts as a protective shield. These adaptive childhood strategies become serious pathologies as the child enters adulthood. Suppressed feelings arise to our conscious awareness time and again. They create cognitive dissonance, which is emotional discomfort, irritation, and restlessness. So let me pause right there. So This is why I say it is very, very important to express ourselves, which the freedom of speech and expression and religious practice and all that stuff all falls into Amendment 1 from our Constitution in the United States of America. All right, expression, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of the from the press, freedom to congregate and religious practice freely wherever we want to. It matters not, because this is the land of the brave, home of the free, where you better be brave if you expect to be free. You can't get freedom by being little pussies. I'm sorry. This emotional conflict desperately forces us to do something or be like the characters we idealize. Being unaware of the shadow makes it a challenge to understand what is creating these unpleasant sensations. Have you ever been in a situation where you abruptly lost your temper and became rageful over something insignificant only to regret it later? Oh, many times. You felt confused as to why you behaved in that manner? The shadow work revealed to me that the monster is not out there but within us. It is a part of ourselves. It lurks in the darkness and rears its ugly hood at the most unpredictable times. It is so overpowering that we lose all control over our rational and logical abilities. As a defense mechanism, our ego creates a false image of ourselves. We believe ourselves to be good, humble, obedient, law abiding, and compassionate human beings with high ethics and values. Number 1, engaging in rationalizing behaviors. I think I'm going to stop there from reading it out loud, and I will just scroll very slowly or leave a few 10 to 20 seconds per little page here, and we'll let you all just read up. And right there we'll stop. There's a lot of information here. I'm tired. It's 5:37 in the evening on, what day is it? It is Friday, February 2nd, 5:37 p.m. I've been cleaning my room and using the broom of righteousness on the walls and the halos and the irises within my dwelling, and I'm no longer avoiding it. Anyways, till next time, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a wonderful day.